In this instructional video, I'll be downloading data from the Census Bureau webpage found at census.gov. In this case, we are looking for block groups in Pierce County. We'll be using the American Community Survey table number B as in boy 19013, which is median household income in the past 12 months. This table is identical to table P53, Paul 53, from the Census 2000 SF3 dataset. To download this table, we're going to go to census.gov, where I am right now, Data, American Community Survey, then from there, in the Data and Documentation tab, we're going to scroll down to Summary File. Once we're at the Summary File, we make sure that we're in the 2012 tab, and then we're going to download what's called the Summary File Retrieval Tool. I'm going to click on that. This is an Excel macro which helps us download a certain number of tables. It does go rather slow, so be cautious when you're using it. Here I have the save. I'm going to save it. In this case, to the same spot that I've been saving everything for this lab. And this one's going to go in my raw data, and I'm going to put it in a new folder called Summary Retrieval Tool, so I know exactly where it is if I want to search for it later, and save. Looks like it's 18 seconds. Now that that file is downloaded, I encourage you to download the user guide, which is just 854K. This will be your go-to guide if you have any questions about the tool. I'm going to save it in the same folder that I saved the tool. That is now saved. I'm going to go back. And then notice there is a video produced by the Census, block group data using the Summary File Retrieval Tool. This video is an excellent 8.5-minute description on how to download data. I highly encourage you to view that in addition to watching this video in its entirety. The Census video said to open via WinZip. I'm going to do it a little differently. I'm going to extract here. You can extract however you need to on your computer. And now I'm going to open this file. Be very cautious because this is a very big program and it does take quite a while. You must enable content, and again, we must be very patient with this tool, so I'm going to go very slowly. I have already enabled the macros by clicking the button, as you saw. The next step, it tells us to press some sort of button. I don't know what they're calling that, but it's right here. And we get the select table, select a major geographic area and extent. We're going to select Washington. I just click the W. I then am going to select the 5-year 2008 to 2012 option, as noted in the directions. From here, I click Next and wait patiently. And waiting. In step 2 of the table lookup, I click Select by Table ID and then enter B19013. which is right here. I'm going to check tracks and block groups only, and then click Next and wait patiently. Notice down here it says downloading and importing data, please wait. After a considerable wait and several pop-up screens, I finally get that this process has concluded. I'm going to click OK and OK. The resulting download Excel workbook should include 5 tables: metadata, geography, estimates, margin of error, and instruction. We'll be using the geography and estimates tables to assemble a new table that can be imported into ArcMap and then joined to the block group shapefile that you downloaded earlier. To start this process, go to File, New, Blank Workbook, and then Create. I'm going to save this workbook in a new folder that I'm going to call Summary File. And then the name that I provided in the lab, which is Pierce BG Median Income. And this is an Excel workbook. And now it's saved. In the next step, we'll be moving the necessary data into this new workbook. Notice in the Estimates table, where I am right now, that you created with the retrieval tool that there are 3 fields named Log, Rec, No, GeoName, and B19013. These are the 3 fields that we'll need to use in order to extract only the Pierce County block groups from the data that were returned by the retrieval tool. To isolate Pierce County block groups, we'll apply a filter to the dataset. In order to do so, click the Data tab in Excel and then click Filter. I'm going to click the Data tab and then click Filter. Each column header should now have a drop-down menu arrow in the bottom right-hand corner, as shown where I'm pointing the mouse. Click the arrow in the GeoName header and then click Text Filters. Contains put contains in both of the default windows, and we're going to put Pierce in one and block in the other. Click OK, and your estimates table should only include entries for block groups in Pierce County. And it appears that I have done just that. Notice that there is not a Geo ID field that we can use when joining this set of data to our block group shapefile in ArcMap. Instead, we'll find and use the Log, Rec, No field that can be used to reference the correct Geo ID field from the geography table that was returned by the retrieval tool. But before we begin working to extract the Geo ID data, we'll first copy and paste the estimates data into our Pierce block group median income workbook. To do so, select the entire set of filtered data. That's the way I'm going to do it. Copy it, and then paste special values to paste it into the table. Go to my table, which is blank, and go to the Home tab, paste values. And now I have my data. There are 560 block groups in Pierce County. So in addition to the 2 header rows, your table in Pierce block group median income should have 562 rows. I went way too far. There's my 562. To keep this from giving me fits, I'm going to go up to Page Layout, Print Area, and set the print area. And now it'll be much easier, I thought it would be, much easier to scroll down. But that didn't help. Now that I got that pasted, I'm going to save it for safekeeping in case something crashes. Minimize it, and that didn't help. There we go. Now if I go to the geography table, we now need to construct a filter to isolate all of the Geo ID fields for Pierce County block groups. To do so, we'll apply a filter to each of the sum level and county fields. To begin, we'll go again back to the Data tab and then Filter. And let's make these much more easily read. There we go. In the sum level filter, right here, create a filter which isolates only those records that are at sum level 150. 150 is a designation used by the census to indicate that the data in the records is enumerated by block group. To do so, the easiest method that I can think of is to go select all, and then simply click on 150 and then say OK. Now they are all 150. In the county field, we know that Pierce is coded with 053. We're going to isolate just 053 and OK. And now we have state 53 and county 53. Now that we've applied these filters, only geography data for the block groups in Pierce County should remain visible in the table. Copy and paste special the remaining values into a table in Pierce block group median income. This time you should have 561 rows since there is only one header row. To do this, I have scrolled over to the right to the very last column of data. Notice if I go past reserved or AY, it is blank in the header row. From there, I'm going to use the page down button until I get to the end. Notice we cannot use the line numbers anymore because they're skewed because of the number of rows in this table. Now that I've gotten to the end bottom and the end to the right, AY, I'm simply going to scroll up and to the left until I've selected everything. I'm going to copy and then go back to my Pierce block group median income worksheet, workbook I should say, grab a new sheet, go back to the Home tab, paste values. And now I have transferred my data. We should have 561 rows. If I scroll down with the page down key many times, I've got 561 rows. If this is not the case in yours, you may want to and you should start again. Before we bring these two tables into ArcMap to begin the join procedure, we'll clean them up a bit in Excel. First, in the table that contains the median income table, right now that is sheet 1, I'm going to select all of them with this button and then double click between A and B so that I can see the titles of the tables, the header row. Delete all columns except for log, rec, no, and B19013, which is median income. Which means log, rec, no. I'm going to highlight these, Alt-ED. There's my median income. I don't need GeoName, Alt-ED. And now I just have two columns, median income and the log, rec, no column. We can delete this initial header row because it's not needed, and remove everything from the B19013 field name except B19013. And to do so, I click in that field and use the delete button. We need this column to be a number field as opposed to text. If I highlight these rows and go to Format Cells, they are just in general, but they're actually a text file. So let me click Cancel, go to this drop down button, such as this. So let me highlight all of these. Let me get rid of this one, and now I can, with the Control button, once I've got all of the rows that I need highlighted, which is the entire column, I can convert these all to text. Go down to the bottom, scroll up because that is easier than scrolling down. On this little yellow warning, I'll click. It says that the number is stored as text. We are going to convert to number. And notice now that it is on the right side. I can tidy up that cell by double clicking between B and C. I'm going to save this file for safekeeping and move on to sheet 2. This table contains our Geo ID field. We're going to delete all columns except for log, rec, no, and Geo ID. Scroll up to the top. Log, rec, no. And Geo ID, which is further over to the right. Open that up. Notice that Geo ID has additional info that we're not used to, 1500 US. These are not necessary for our purposes. To overcome this, we'll create a new Geo ID 2 field in Excel and extract only the right-hand 12 characters from the original Geo ID field. To do so, we're going to scroll to the right a tad, or just insert. Actually, I'm going to insert a column here, call it Geo ID 2. Actually, I'm going to delete that. And I'm going to delete all of the columns that I don't need to make this easier to work with. Now that all the columns are deleted, now I'm going to have a Geo ID 2 field. From there, we're going to use a little bit of Excel trickery. Add an equal sign, which tells Excel that this is going to be a formula. Parenthesis, RIGHT, as it's showing us. another parenthesis, and in this case I want B2 because the cell that I want to extract the 12 characters from is B2, comma, and then 12, because as it noted right here, it's 12 characters, num characters that we want to extract from this, and it's the right 12 characters. I close that up with 2 parenthesis marks and hit enter, and notice how the erroneous information has been extracted. I'm just going to scroll down for 560 some odd rows, doing so carefully to not go beyond the data. And Control D. Now my column is filled. Another way to do this a little bit more quickly is within this cell, hover until your cursor makes a plus and double click, and notice how that drops that down to the very last row. I could go look to prove it, and there it is. Just a little bit easier to do. And now all the cells in column C should be filled with the same formula. In order to make this Geo ID 2 field useful to ArcMap, you must now copy the entire column and paste special values to paste it into column D. Because, as we know, formulas do not work in ArcMap. Now that I'm done with column B and C, I highlight them, Alt-ED, and they are now deleted. Since I didn't do paste special, that causes a problem. I'm going to undelete, go back here, copy, highlight, and this time paste values, which is the proper way to do this. Then delete these two, Alt-ED, and now it is a text field, because it is on the left, which is exactly what we're looking for. One last item I'm going to add is to rename this sheet. Use Geo ID 2, and my demographics, I'm going to right click, rename, use demo G, DEMOG, for use demographics. Sometimes we have a do not use me. In this case, we've been very tidy. We don't have any extra worksheets except this one, and I'm just going to delete it. One last time, I'm going to save and close Excel. I can also close this summary file retrieval tool, and I should be good to go. I do not need to save the stuff that I've done, and it closes. I get back to the web. I'm done with the web, so I'm going to close it, and I'm back to ArcMap. I'm now going to import these tables, and to do so, I turned off all of my layers because there's no need to have them drawing as I'm importing. I'm going to be using ArcCatalog in the right-hand column. Navigate to my labs, Lab 5, and my geodatabase, where I'm going to import the tables. I'm going to right-click, Import Table, and this window pops up. I'm going to navigate to the folder where I've got my data, where I've saved it. Saved it in my raw data, and it was the summary file. Here it is. I double click, I insert 1, add. The output table will be named the same or similar. This is my summary. Let's just go look to make sure which one I grabbed. This is the demographics. Census demog. Okay. Runs very quickly. Close. Go back to Arc Catalog. Right click on the Geo database. Import table. This time I'm going to select the Geo ID. Add. I know it's going to the right place, and I name it Census Geo ID. You could also do this by multiple if you wanted to. I chose to rename them as I brought them in. Close. I now must join these two tables. Join. I'm going to base it on log rec no. Of course, it chooses the Geo ID, which is good. Log rec no. I'm going to keep all records. Validate the join. Yes, I want to index it, and it says that they will be joined. Let's click OK, and they are now joined. I must now export that data. First, I'm going to look and make sure that all the data is there, and it appears to be. I've got an extra column, but that's okay. The most important is I have the demographics. I'm going to close and not export from a table. Scroll down some, but I'm going to do it from the shape, export all records, and in this case I'm going to save it to the correct data folder. Interesting how it gets way off. In my Geo database, I'm going to call it Pierce Median Income in the Geo database, and click Save and OK. And I'll add it to the current map. Now that we have the demographic data, I'm going to join it to my Washington block groups. Do a join. Use the field Geo ID. Choose the table, Pierce Median Income, and Geo ID 2. In this case, I'm going to keep only matching records and validate the join, hoping that there's 560. Say yes. 560. Perfect. Why is that? Well, the reason is there are only 560 block groups, and this feature has all of Washington block groups. I'm going to say OK. They get joined. I verify that by looking at the attribute table. There's a Geo ID. There's my information. There's a ton that were not joined because we only were looking for Pierce blocks. For now, I need to export this because I want to make the join permanent. And in this case, I will now call it Pierce block groups. As I export, OK, and I will add it to the table. Let's open it up to see what data is there. There's 560, which is great. Shape area, of course, is recalculated, as is the length. This is the important information, the demographics. And then now let's look at null values. Going to try sorting by ascending. There are 4 null values. Change them to a 0 by highlighting. Field calculator, change that to a 0. Okay, and now they're 0. We don't want null values. Now that you know that there were 4, you need to figure out why there were null values within that field of your Pierce Block Groups feature class to put into your write-up. Currently, these are questions 217 and 218. That is how you prepare your census data when downloading from the American Community Survey using the macro-enabled Microsoft Excel tables.